Hi everyone, in this video we are going to discuss if-else statement in Java. Before starts today's lecture, let us try to recall what have we covered in our last lecture. Types of selection statements, when do we use simple if statement, syntax and execution procedure of if statement, real-time usage of simple if with coding. After watching this video, you will get the knowledge about problem with if statement, why use if else instead of multiple simple if statements, syntax and execution procedure of if else, real world scenarios of if else with coding. We started control statements already. We discussed that we have three types of the control statements in Java. Selection statements. Selection statements are also called decision making with branching statements. And the second category is looping and the third category is jumping. In the first category, that is branching statements, or you can say selection statements, the categories we have in branching are simple if statement, if else, nested if else, else if ladder, switch case. Already we covered simple if statement in our last video. In this video we are going to discuss about if else statement in detail. Before starting the discussion about the if else, let us try to understand what is the problem with if. For example, we have the code like this. I want to know whether the given number is negative number or not, or you can say negative number or positive number. My condition is like if number less than 0. If a number is less than 0, we can say that that is a negative number. So in the if block, we can write like this: system.out.println negative. But if the number is not negative, what happens if this condition becomes false? You won't get any output, because simple if statement allows us to execute a block of code only when certain condition is true. If the condition is false, the code within the block is skipped. If this condition is false, the code, the statement or statements what we have within the if block are skipped and no alternative action is taken. This is the problem with if statement. Let us see one program to understand this problem clearly. See this program: int number assignment 20, and my condition is if number less than 0, nothing but the number is a negative number. When it becomes true, within the block what I am writing, output statement, number, the number value is printed, 20 in our example, 20 concatenated with is negative will be printed when if this condition is true. But here the number value is 20, 20 less than 0, that is false. So the statement or statements whatever we have in the if block will be skipped in this case. So in our example, this statement won't be executed because this condition becomes false. But we are not giving any alternative here. So if you run this program, we compiled the program and let me run it. See, we are not getting any output because this condition is false. If this condition is true, then only this will be executed, we know that. For example, let me take this number as a negative number. Let me run it. See, minus 10 is a negative number. So we are handling only one case, negative case, but we are not handling in the second case, that is positive case. So whenever this condition is true, we are handling that case. Whenever this condition becomes false, we are not handling that. That's why we are not getting any output. But when the user finds blank screen, the user cannot understand what's happening in the code. That should not be happen in the real time. So this is the problem with if statement. We are handling only true case. Then what is the solution for this problem is, we can handle that false case with help of the else statement. Nothing but when we use if else statement, if the condition is true, statement or set of these statements will be executed. When this condition is false, we are giving some alternative action also with help of the else. So when it becomes false, the else statement or statements will be executed. The else block statements will be executed. Now see same code, number 20, number less than 0, that is a negative number, else when condition becomes false, else will be executed. Within that what we have, the number is a positive number. In our example it is a positive number, right? So 20 less than 0, false, so it will be skipped. When this condition becomes false, the control will not be entered into the if block, directly it comes to the else block, and within the else block what we have, output statement number is a positive, that will be executed. Let us execute this, compile fast. Positive underscore negative dot java, that is file name, compiled successfully. Let me execute this. Now see the output, 20 is positive number. Suppose if you give any negative number also, we will get the output. I am changing that value 20 to minus 10, and let me execute once again. See, minus 10 is a negative number, so we can handle both cases. Now the concept is clear, I hope. Let me tell you the general syntax to implement the if else. If within the parenthesis we need to create a condition, that is a boolean expression generally that may return either true or false. If the condition returns true, if block executed. For the better understanding, let me call it as true block. Then else, you can create else block if you want to execute multiple statements, or if you want to execute single statement, no need to create this block. Directly you can write single statement. Let me call it as false block for the easy understanding. We covered already, when this condition is true, then the true block will be executed or if block will be executed. In this case, else will be skipped. When the condition returns false, else block will be executed and the complete if block will be skipped. If you observe, in true case, if block will be executed, else block will be skipped. In the false case, only else block will be executed and if block will be skipped. Then you may get the doubt, why use if else instead of multiple if statement? See this example. Concept is same. I want to know whether the number is negative or positive. Just now we discussed the same code. In that I used else in place of second if statement. But you may get the doubt, why we need to write else? We can write one more if condition also in place of the else. That is also valid. It gives the same output. Let me execute this. See, 20 is positive. If you change this value 20 to any negative number, you will get the value will be printed here, is negative will be printed. So if you observe the output, you are getting same output, no changes here. But why we write else even though we can achieve the same output with help of the if? The reason is, when you write multiple if statements like this, Java compiler takes some amount of the time to evaluate this also. Okay. But coming to the if else, let me show you the previous code. In the case of the else, if this condition is true, this particular block will be executed and this part will be skipped completely. Controller will not comes to this part. But in case of multiple ifs, every statement must be evaluated by compiler. For that it takes some time. So this approach is not efficient when compared with this approach. So that is the importance of else. See now, when we use else instead of the multiple if statements, that helps to improve the efficiency of your application. And if you use if else instead of the multiple if statement, you can easily understand that. You can maintain the clarity in your code. Here the points to remember are, if is used when you only need to check one condition and take the action when it is true. But coming to the if else, if the condition is true, one set of the statements will be executed. If the condition is false, another set of the statements will be executed. Always the execution will take place based on the condition value. So this leads to more organized and readable. Of course, it is an efficient manner. Let me show you some real world scenarios where we use if else. Applying discounts in online shopping. Sometimes you may find discount offers in online shopping. For that we use if else. Let me show you the code. See this code. The rule is, if the customer bill is greater than 3000, then I want to give the discount, that is 10% of the discount on the total bill. See the code? Let us assume the total bill is 2000 rupees. But the rule is, if the total bill is greater than 3000, then only I want to give 10% discount to that particular customer. For that, we are checking the total bill value, if total bill is greater than 3000 or not. For that, we are writing this code. If this is true, the meaning is the customer bill is greater than 3000. So now you can display that discount applied 10%. When the total bill is less than 3000, this becomes false. In that case, else will be executed, we discussed just now. And in that, I want to execute some statement that is used to print no discount available. Let me execute this. Let us compile it first. Now, then execute it. Now see, no discount available because the total bill is 2000, that is less than 3000. For example, if I modified total bill as 5000 and let us execute the same code once again. Compile it first, no errors, execute it. Now see, discount applied 10%. One more use case is withdrawal validation in banking application. We know that the general rule to withdrawal amount, suppose if you want to withdraw 1000 rupees, you must maintain sufficient amount in your bank account. If there is no sufficient amount, suppose if you have 500 rupees, but if you want to withdraw 1000 rupees, that will raise an error, or that may give information like you may not have sufficient amount, right? So I want to implement such type of the task. See this code, balance is 300 rupees and withdrawal amount is 100 rupees, right? So this is valid transaction. If balance greater than withdrawal amount, that is 300 greater than or equals to 100, true. So control comes into the black and withdrawal successful will be displayed. Okay. Then if this condition becomes false, else black will be executed, insufficient funds will be displayed. Let us execute this. Withdrawal successful. Suppose if I change the withdrawal amount 100 to 500. Okay, now the withdrawal amount is 500, balance is 300. Let me execute this. Now see, insufficient funds. I think it is clear how to use if else and where to use if else. Next use case is login validation. In that case, we need to maintain the user ID and password of a particular person in our database in real time, but in our example, I am storing that value in the program itself. See, for the understanding purpose, I am storing admin as a username, that is string type, and one more string type variable stored password used to store the password, admin123. So admin is a username, admin123 is a password. Already these are available with us in our program. Now let us assume the user entered username is admin12 and entered password is admin123. So first you need to check the user ID and password. But here see, stored username is admin, but entered username is admin12. No matching, right? Anyway, see the code. If entered username dot equals is used to compare the values of these two strings, stored username and entered username. In our example, this returns false because entered username is admin12, stored username is admin only. Logical line, it returns true when both conditions are true. And second condition is entered password dot equals. It is going to compare the entered password value with stored password value. Those two are strings type. In this example, this returns true, but first condition returns false. False, logical and true, so that returns false. So finally, the 11th statement returns false. So control will not be entered into this if black. directly it comes to the else block. Then what we have in the else part, output statement, invalid username or password. Let me execute this. See, invalid username or password. For example, entered username is also admin. Okay, two are matched. Admin, password is admin123, entered password is also admin123. Let us execute this. Now see, login successful. Check your knowledge, what you understand from this video. Problem with if statement. Why use if else instead of multiple simple if statements? Syntax and execution procedure of if else. Real world scenarios of if else with coding. If this video is useful to you, please do subscribe the channel, like and share the videos. Thank you.